So, we have here with Miss. Sunayana Kejriwal, who works in the field of design. So, ma'am, my first question to you is, for those who wanted to enter the field of design, could you please tell us more about like the field and what kind of what is expected from someone who enters the field?
Okay, so any kind of creative field that you enter, you first have to have passion because creativity requires passion. Without passion, it's difficult to come up with your own ideas or to come up with your own color schemes. So I guess the first thing you need is passion. Then, of course, hard work goes along with it because there are times when even though you're creative, your designs would not be accepted, and you could feel dejected. So hard work, and of course, you have to enjoy what you're doing. So again, it comes to passion, like little bit of knowledge. That plays a very important role. Like you should know the field you're in, whether it is fashion designing, textile designing, any creative field, you need to know what the field holds. As in, if you're in fashion designing, you need to know what the fabrics are. So I guess that what it holds, like the entire fashion designing holds, like
Okay,
designing and fabrics and
okay. So you mentioned that you need to have prior knowledge. So did you personally like go through any like college or courses before starting?
yeah, I have. So I have grown up in a textile family. I have grown up amongst fabric. So, of course, the knowledge of touch, feel, that was always there. And plus, I have pursued my textile designing. So, the knowledge of fabrics or different kind of techniques or different kinds of ways of using a fabric or how to handle a fabric, that all you get from textile designing. So that prior knowledge was there before I started a career in it.
Okay, so for someone who's say right out of college, what courses or university or like programs would you recommend for them to get into the field?
So fashion designing also has a lot of parts in it. So you could be a fashion illustrator, you could be a fashion stylist, you could be a fashion designer. So when you look at like a wholesome course, a holistic course, so that course is like a degree course or a diploma course. It takes you about 3 years to do that. So that course, you know, covers all fields of fashion designing. Whereas if you're looking at a very specific field, like say you want to be a fashion stylist, then you could do a shorter fashion designing course, which would help you with your fashion styling abilities. So, depending on what you want to pursue, whether it is completely fashion designing related or you're looking at the smaller fields of fashion designing, you do your course.
So you also mentioned that like there are various departments to fashion as such. So like starting with from the start point to the end point, along what point do you realize which department you're suited for or which you're most passionate about? And like before, you obviously have to be a designer to start like your own shop, etc. Right? So how at what point in basically one's career does one make the switch?
Okay, so see, it again depends on what you enjoy. So when you do fashion designing, you'll realize you start with fashion illustrations. So that again, it's a career in its own. Like a fashion illustrator can help other fashion designing houses to develop their designs. They can guide them with the fabrics. After fashion illustration, then you start doing the stitching part of it, which includes draping. So again, that is another career on its own. Then you have once you've done these, you learn how to stitch. You become a designer. So a fashion designer is covering all parts of it. Then you learn how to market your product. So depending on, a lot of people, like they don't enjoy designing, but they like selling, and even selling fashion is an art. So it really depends on, so you expose yourself to all the fields, and then whichever field you enjoy the most is what you take up. So maybe one would not be a good salesperson, but could be a very good designer. So that's how you get into only designing. But somebody could be good at designing and marketing. And if you're not good at, say, either of it, but you're good, very good with fashion illustration. So fashion illustration means like making your sketches, and you could probably work with a big fashion house who could buy your designs from you. Another part is fashion photography. So even for that, you need to know fashion designing to understand fashion photography. So whichever field you feel interested in is what you take up as a career. But you expose yourself. It's like when you start playing sports, you will expose yourself to various kinds of sports till you decide, okay, this is a sport I want to play. So the same way in designing, you explore all the fields and then you decide, okay, this is what I want to do.
So for someone who is just out of like a university or a course, and you hired them at your company, so what would their work timings be, and what would you expect of them in whatever department they work as in, as a in general?
Okay, so see work timings, because we are based in India, so we work on like say a 9 o'clock 9 to 6 basis, but there are people who have double shifts also in the production houses, the big production houses. So it would depend. Like generally, females work in the morning half, and you could have, if you need a designer towards the end, it would be accordingly. So that is the work timings for a store. Again, a store operates from say 10 to 7. Like my store operates 10 to 7. So that would be the work timings. If you're on the designing front, you handle the quality, the fabrics, the finish, the look, you handle all of it. But if you're, say, if you're handling a store, again, a fashion designer could be employed as a store manager. So when you're employed as a store manager, you're handling the stocks coming in, stocks going out, the day-to-day sales, you're handling the clients. So that part of it is totally different. So it depends on which field you are in, like which section of fashion designing, which field of fashion designing you are in, actually.
Now that fashion is being considered such a like professional career rather than something that you would start after having an established source of income, uh, what would you like say fashion is in the future in terms of Indian economy?
Okay, so basically, with the pandemic coming in, I think a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people have been laid off. People have not been able to, a lot of people are not the types who would work from home. Like, even if they have retained their jobs, they can't work from home. They can't be in front of a PC 24/7. So, fashion is a growing business because it is you are your own boss if you have your own unit. Like if for of course for work experience you should work under a label, an established label for the first few years once you're out of a design school. But otherwise, if you start your own label, you work at your own pace, you can do your marketing. There are so many marketing tools nowadays, the Instagram being one of the best tools to market your product. So it has a good future because uh, you're your own boss, you create your own garments, and you can sell it on your own. You're not under somebody, you're not with a company who can lay you off. It's upon you how you want to progress. So
Okay.
basically, your future lies in your own hands.
Okay, so from a point of working like you work for someone for a few years, as you mentioned, how does one make the decision in any field to start their own business from scratch? And how did you personally make that decision, like taking that big risk of starting your own business?
So again, if you're passionate and you start young, so when you start young, you can falter, you can fall and stand up again. You have the chance to do that. And so I'll tell you how I started. I didn't have a store from the beginning. I started, so I used to run an activity club for children. Okay, I'm a Montessori trained teacher, and I used to run a club for children. And there comes a time in life when you have to work from home. or you
Yeah.
can't move out a lot. Like there are many other commitments. So that's when I decided to do the shows. Like I started holding exhibitions of various designers, and I started showcasing them. Once I developed a very good clientele, I felt that it was time to step in and have a store. So, because I had a good clientele, my store was established from day one. Otherwise, like if I would have started a store and done a reverse working, probably it would have taken a little longer time for me to start selling immediately. So that's how I started. Since you asked that how I started, so that's how I started, and that's how I got into a store. And I'm in a city which does not have a lot of fashion around it. People are fashionable, but availability of fashion is very less. So it worked for me that I could give Pune something that it was lacking, and plus it satisfied my passion as well.
At what point did you make the decision to hire someone for marketing, etc.? Because after you reach a certain level of growth, you can't do it yourself anymore.
Yeah, okay. So, see, it depends. Like, once you feel that you're making enough profits and you want to reach a wider audience, which you're not being able to do with your own resources, that's when you step out and you outsource other marketing ideas, because ultimately you can't be handling everything on your own. So, when once you start seeing the growth, that okay, the business is growing and there are other things that need to be taken care of, that's when you outsource, you know, uh, marketing or growth tools.
Okay. So obviously, fashion is a very competitive and large industry, and there are many popular brands out there that like today's youth would relate with more than like the older generations.
Yeah.
So, along with that, how would you compete with those brands in terms of appealing to a wider audience? Because many designs and ideas and innovations that you may have thought of but could not implement may have already been implemented. So how do you rearrange your thought process to be able to cater to this wide audience?
See, like I said, quality plays a very important role. So probably, so I'm not saying that the big companies don't give quality. Of course, they are surviving, so they do give quality. But you basically come up with a niche product which is not very easily available. Then your prices have to be very competitive so that you can sell. Your marketing ideas have to be a little different, little out of the box, so that they reach a wider audience. And of course, the fabrics, everything plays a role. You know, the fabrics, the finish, the cuts. So when your product is absolute niche but is not easily available, that's how you will sell, because yeah, the competition is really wide. And now even like I told you, I started in Pune that time because there was nothing, but now we have the biggest of labels here as well. So to survive, we have to keep improvising and coming up with new ideas every single day.
Okay. So now my last question. Any word of advice or encouragement that you would have for anybody who's watching, especially students?
Yeah, so if you have a flair for fashion, don't be scared. Any field requires hard work, but it is not difficult. You will get there, and let your creativity come out. Like, don't think that how am I going to do it or it's difficult. It's a whole learning process. You begin at A and you will reach Z. So don't feel scared to explore. If you want to do it, go ahead with it. It is a beautiful field. There is something to learn every day. So don't hold yourself back. Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
going to say.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.